The only companies that are going to grow that way are companies that are doing good work that actually deliver results. What was keeping the company stuck where it was at? Part of it was that the owner was in the center of everything.
Welcome to the Happy Clients Podcast, brought to you by Dot & Company. Whether you're a virtual assistant, an agency owner, or a client-facing account manager, we all deal with clients. Lucky for you, client management is what we do best. Now, let's dig in, chat cam life, and have some fun along the way. Cheers to Happy Clients.
E2M is a proud sponsor of the Happy Clients Podcast. If you're running a digital agency, you know the hardest part isn't getting clients. It's delivering consistently without burning out your team or hurting margins. E2M helps agencies scale confidently as a behind-the-scenes, white-label fulfillment partner. From web development and SEO to paid media, US-based content, e-commerce, and even AI, they plug into your agency so your clients get great results under your brand. No freelancers, no chaos, just reliable delivery that helps you keep clients happy and growing. Find out how E2M can support your agency at e2msolutions.com/dot. Well, welcome back to the Happy Clients Podcast. Today I have a friend, I think we met years ago. And we've been both circling around each other in the agency space for a number of years, but I'm excited to introduce you all to Mandi Ellefson. So Mandi, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Taylor. It's such a pleasure.
Yeah. I think as soon as we first met for virtual coffee years ago, we knew that it was just like a natural fit for us to talk about things together because Mandi's business is the hands-off CEO. She's written a book about it. Literally, she knows all about removing the agency owner from the day-to-day seat. And that's exactly what we help agency owners do. So we love talking about this stuff. So if you're into it, you're going to enjoy this episode. So Mandi, for anybody who hasn't come across you or hands-off CEO before, what's kind of the quick version of what you do and how you help?
Yeah, so what we do is we work with service-based companies, and many of them have been agencies. I know we have some overlap in our market that way. And what we do is we help them be able to remove themselves from the day-to-day and also be able to build a company that can run and grow without them. And we now have 3 companies on track for 10 million. And really our new direction is helping service-based firms be able to add $5 million in 2 years and add $500,000 of profit.
I think your ears probably perked up there. Everybody listening?
Right. And we have two companies that we've done that in the last 18 months with. And one from 2.7 to 10 million. In this next quarter, they'll be at 10 million. And another one from 4 million to 8 million in 12 months. And then now they're on track for 10 million in the next quarter. And the nice thing about that was like the first one that was 2.7 to 10, they added $1 million in net profit. And the second one I was mentioning, they doubled their profit. So doubling your profit when you're at 4 million is a lot of money. And that's really where everything that we teach and we help install ultimately leads to that bigger vision. And that's like, and also even just hearing about, you said your ears perked up, like that's what we've helped our clients do with an irresistible offer. So they move into a higher pricing tier. It allows them to do their very best work and charge their highest price point. And that's what allows them to be able to have these very profitable companies that they can actually remove themselves from. Because a huge part of the problem of them being stuck in the day-to-day is that they don't have the cash flow or profit to remove themselves, to replace themselves.
So can we dig into this a little bit? Can
Of
you
course.
tell me more about how, like, what did you do to get those companies from a couple million to 10? Like, that's a huge jump in 18 months.
Well,
what were some of the things that kind of moved the needle?
Okay, so here's the first thing is that we have to just establish the only companies that are going to grow that way are companies that are doing good work that actually deliver results. That's one of the things that we have to have. But what drives the pieces? Like, well, what has to happen is that is that what was keeping the company stuck where it was at. Part of it was that the owner was in the center of everything. They were in the center of delivery, which I know is a huge piece of what you do at Dot & Co. They're in client strategy. They were in sales. They were in marketing, and all of these different pieces. Even if they hired their team, everything still passed through them. So what we've done is help them be able to extract themselves from each different piece of the company so that they can actually focus on the sales strategies, some of the things that I talked about. But it's really about going after the right type of client, the client that's going to pay them the most. And Philip, for example, it was the company that went from 4 to 8 million, and is on track for 10. And it's in less than 18 months. It's about 18 months, right? And we're now looking at multiple $1 million engagements that they're selling, right?
Wow.
And when we first worked together with them, they were at 6-figure engagements. But you know what? Another one of our clients who's also on track for 10 million, his company he's an agency, and he was at $1 million. And they were stuck at $1 million, and a lot of things were still passing through him. And even with a good team, they were stuck there. And in 3 years, they were able to go from 1 to 3 million and triple their profit on top of that. And now he's on track for 10 million. So that and he came to our retreat this last year, and he shared his whole journey. It was so much fun, and he rode his motorcycle out, and like Jerry is like he's so awesome, right? But what happened in order for him to really remove himself out of the business was that he had to stop selling these small onesie-twosie little projects and packages that were in the low 5 figures. And then we looked at, like, what do you actually want to be known for? What's the work that you actually want to build your company around? And now we're actually looking at what company do you really want to build here? So what we decided on with him was, like, the best area for him was in elder care. So they went around in elder care, and we said, how can we package this, your services, like how do we package your services in a way that's going to deliver a particular outcome? And then when we defined the outcome, then they started selling 6-figure engagements, and then multiple 6-figure engagements, and even 7-figure engagements, because they were able to do multiple properties and be able to bring in these higher level clients. I mean, you can see how that's going to compound growth. And a big part during this time, he actually was out. He was out of the office for quite a time because he actually had some surgeries, and he had to be out. So, like, his whole company was growing, though, and that's because it had legs to do it. He actually had a real product that people wanted. And now more than ever, right now, like, you have to be relevant. And the market has changed. AI is impacting how clients are perceiving value. And you can't get away with the old school, like, this is what we do. You have to really deliver an outcome.
So what comes first? Is it the removing yourself, or is it the making your offer irresistible and really framing that and increasing your package value? Or do you do them both at the same time?
Well, it's going to depend on the situation and what level team people have and all of that. We've done both. We've had some companies that, like, I'll share one example. I'll call her Heather because I want to just give more details than I would necessarily want to attribute to her name. So we'll call her Heather. But Heather's company, she was at under $1 million. They were at about $500,000, and they had demand. But the problem is that, like, she was, like, in everything. But the problem, even with demand, having demand doesn't necessarily mean you have the cash to support the demand and to hire the people. And ultimately, she knew she needed to make this change. And we went through this process. We helped to put together this irresistible offer, and she's charging twice the price point now. And it's like we're now at the next level. She's going to be charging the next level price point now. She filled up her clients with this, but the problem is like she's totally at capacity. So we helped her hire a manager, and we're helping her piece together and remove herself out of those pieces. And see, for her, Heather wants to be able to sell her company in a few years. So she's putting her head down and she's working hard to make that happen, right? And so she has a real appetite for growth. Those are really the companies that we work best with. They have an appetite for growth. They have a vision, and they know they can make it. They have great results, but it's just a matter of like how do I be able to grow? Because it's a great question you asked, actually. Which one's first? Like the chicken or the egg? Both. You have to do both at the same time. The reality is you have to do both at the same time. Yeah. And if you already have all the infrastructure in place, I mean, there's some other companies that we've worked with that they have, they already have like a structure in place. And I think one of the other companies that I mentioned on April and her company was that we worked on the irresistible offer together because it helped her define what is the work that needs to be done. And at the same time, like, how can we pull some things off of your plate right now? Which, something you and I have talked about in the past, the client management. Like, that's the first thing. That's the first exit. I know that's something that you guys are phenomenal at.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting because I totally agree. It has to all happen at the same time. And that's same with me, like removing myself, but we also had to grow so that I could remove myself and hire the people. And it's like, that's what a scaling business is. And you feel like you're in a blender most of the time, but you just have to do it. Yeah. One step at a time. But I think a lot of agency owners come with this expectation that it's like you have this key and this is going to unlock the next thing, but really like they all have to be unlocking at the same time as you're growing. So that is a refreshing angle to hear from you, especially Mandi. So let's say an agency owner works with you and they get their offer nailed down. They start to charge more. They start to remove themselves. What are they doing once they're removed? Because, as agency owners start to dreamscape and they're saying, okay, I hire Dot & Co. and I get rid of account management and then I hire this person and I've removed myself. What am I going to do? Am I going to be irrelevant?
Right. Yeah, exactly. That's a great question. And so while you're going and doing that and you're retooling and saying, what do we want our business to be about? And you're removing yourself at the same time. I mean, I mentioned before, I was interviewing you last week. And we were talking about, 20 hours per week you get back from removing yourself out of a client account management. And for anyone listening here, like, Dot & Co is really good at what they do. And if you're a good fit for them, and I know that you guys are particular about who you work with, and like, if you're a good fit for them, like, this is a very good solution to be able to remove yourself and get back 20 hours per week. And then you can focus this on growth. So I just want to just call it out. I've seen the back end of some of the things that you guys do, and I'm impressed. And I've seen the back end of thousands of companies, and they're not all pretty, okay?
Thanks, Mandi.
Oh, absolutely. I'm happy to share that. So now what do you do with this extra time? And now a lot of people, what they think is like, okay, I need more sales. I'm going to hire a salesperson. And that's great if you have a dialed in sales process. And if you know exactly who your ideal clients are, you're sure about that. You know how they talk about their problem, and you have a proven way to be able to get in front of those people, and not only just get in front of those people, but how to actually be able to convert them into high-paying clients. Not just how to take a referral and close a referral, because that's a lay-down sale. That's not like it's already been pre-sold to you, right? Mm-hmm. That's a very different thing than going from ice cold to warm to closed. And that's something that a lot of agency owners do not realize that. They have never actually done real outbound outreach sales. And when they have, maybe they've tried to hire like cold email company or LinkedIn company or like some biz dev type of company, and that will work to the level of effectiveness that your offer has. It will work to the level of effectiveness. So just one offshoot example on this, if that's okay.
Yes.
We're
here for it.
Okay. So an agency owner we're working with, like, they also came in, they were at that point where like, which is first, sales are getting ourselves out of this. And there's these partnerships, they're stuck in the day to day, but at the same time they need more sales. It's a really difficult place to be. So what we did is we looked at, what do you actually want to build this company around? And in doing so, what we're able to do is help them retool their offerings so that in the first 90 days or so, they were able to get paid as much as they did for a whole year of service. And so them doing that, and now I even just looked at their growth goals moving forward. They're like, all right, well, we want to be able to get to $15,000 a month. That's where we want our services to be at. So now that right there, they tripled their top line in their company in 90 days by doing that. And that gave them the ability, okay, we're going to hire a manager. And now we've been developing their manager to be able to run the business and remove them more and more out of the day-to-day. We still have more work to do on that, right? Because they're a fast-growing company. But why this worked was because they actually had a channel already that was working. In this case, I'm going to share what to do when you don't have this channel. But in this case, they were working with a LinkedIn company, business development type of company. And it was working okay before. But once we helped them dial in the offer, and it made it really really sexy, now it just was working like gangbusters. And now they are growing. They're growing at the pace that their operations can be able to sustain. So you can have something that's working. Thanks. And so you can have something that's working okay, but you can then optimize this to make it work better. So
when I hear that, I always think, how much money did I leave on the table? You know, if I had this offer, it's like working all right, but imagine if it worked better. What would that mean compounded over the next 3 years, you know?
Yes, I do know. And I know what you're saying. And here's the thing is that you can, there's one side of it, like how much money I'm leaving on the table. And then there are market shifts, that things that are happening right now, like buying patterns are dramatically changing right now. Anything around consulting, agencies, it's all changing. And you can no longer lead with what you do and have it be acceptable. It's just, you have to have an outcome. Like I was mentioning, I feel like I'm broken record on saying that, but I'm going to give you an example here with Mark. And he was at this place in 2020 because there were some similar things that were happening in 2020 where he had bank and credit unions clients that they stuck their head in the sand and said, no more budget freezes. We're not investing. We're going to wait for this whole thing to blow over. And he also knew that these companies, if they did that, it would be very, very detrimental to them. And some of them might even go out of business. So they stopped investing in these, $10, $20, $30,000 projects. And so now Mark was like, okay, I'm ready to work on these offers. Before he was like, no, I don't think so. It's working good enough, Like he could see that there might be some money left on the table, but like he had a bigger fish to fry. He was like stuck in the weeds of everything. But now it's done when cash completely stops, like, can selling something at a higher price point actually sell better? Well, here's the thing. So we looked at his offer and say, what do they actually want? Like, what are you actually selling here? Are you selling branding services? Are you selling, customer support, sales? Like, what are you actually selling here, right? And they were selling branding services, right? And like, you know what? When the world shuts down, branding services are really not that valuable anymore, right?
Yeah.
So we need to look at what do they actually want? Is they want to be able to increase the deposits. That's what they need to do that. So if we, now they're not going to be able to do that with these onesie-twosie little projects, right? So we said, well, how do we look at this over a 12-month period of time? If they gave us the budget, if they gave us the focus, and if they actually just followed our process, how much could we actually help them grow their deposits? And when we looked at it from that angle, he was able to come up with some really interesting, some interesting KPIs. They were based upon success conditions. One of the biggest ones being, you got to give us the budget. And right. He came back to the same clients that said no to like $20,000 offer 2 weeks earlier. They said no. The same clients, he brought back $100,000 and $120,000 growth program, and they said yes to it. So 600% higher price point. They said yes to, but they said no to the smaller thing. It's not your price.
Is it the outcome?
It's the outcome, yes, and it's also like how are they perceiving you? Before right. They were perceiving them as a good growth, as a very good service provider. They had trust, they had authority, they're good service providers. But what they were lacking is relevance. They were relevant even just a couple months earlier. So right. You can have trust and you can have authority with previous clients, and they can still cancel on you because you're no longer relevant. So we have to look at how do we be able to make what we're doing as a business relevant in this new market? How do we be able to do that? And solving that problem, it solves your sales problems. It solves all your sales problems. And then it will solve a lot of your operations problems too, because you can throw money at those.
Yep. It's funny when you think about all these people in our industry who are doing, high ticket sales, and it's just get them in the door. And then you see on the back end, everything just falls apart on operations and the whole team and the whole morale. And we've even gone through phases of, sometimes we might offer something else in sales, and then 2 months later it backfires. And I think what you're saying will resonate with so many agency owners is that if you have an offer that's just a no-brainer and that people can see the value right from the get-go, you just avoid so many issues down the road, and that compounds like crazy.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. And I think you brought up what you brought up is a really good point too. Between how the sales that you make create your operations problems.
Yes.
Like 80% of operations problems are actually happen in the sales.
Wow. I didn't know it was that high.
Well, I mean, that's what I see. That's what I observe. And I'm sure you probably observe this too. Because like with your clients, they're selling one thing and there's like a disconnect between like what the client wants and what they're getting versus why they bought, you know? Mm-hmm. And I know that's one of the problems that you're solving, like connecting the dots there. So because that's why you guys have clients that are able to retain so well. Yeah,
absolutely.
Because you're solving that problem.
So absolutely. So let's shift gears, Mandi. I want to hear your thoughts on, let's say we remove ourselves from the day-to-day, we're hands off, and we want to get into more into the sales role, but we don't necessarily know where to start. I know you have different ideas, methodologies, and things that work, but I know something that you've been working on recently has been unlocking huge strides for a lot of your clients. I'd love to dig into that.
Yeah, I'd be happy to share that. And this is something that we've even seen for our own company as well, and it's working. And ultimately, you may have been hearing everything that I've talked about so far is how to be able to leverage what you already have. How to be able to take what you have and like mine the gold, and then use that to be able to expand on it. So here's the thing is like, you know, I run trainings, and one of the questions I ask is like, how many years did it take you to build your expertise? And you know, I get anywhere from like 10 to 30 years of like that they took building this expertise. And if you're looking at that way, you have 10 to 30 years worth of knowledge, but also contacts and relationships. And so you have relationships of trust with people and some level of authority too. So you have those relationships of trust there. So it's looking at how do we be able to leverage those relationships of trust to be able to build authority, because some of them you might not have the authority. For example, like in my last company, I was like 24 years old. I didn't know anything about what I'm doing now, right? But I have people that trust me there. So how could I be able to unlock some of those relationships that they may be able to make some introductions for me at this new level of authority and relevancy that I have, right? How could I do that? This is ultimately how to be able to unlock all of these different connections. And if you don't have any of those connections, you can also use this for just direct targeting and outreaching on this. So here's how this works. Now, we like I mentioned, we need trust, we need relevancy, and we need authority. Now, most selling systems, what they do is like they're blasting out like to strangers they don't have trust with, and what they're doing is they're hoping that the relevancy and the authority is high enough for it to actually land. So like that client I mentioned, when they were doing that cold outreach on LinkedIn, it was working because it was relevant and they had enough authority that it made it work, right? They didn't have trust. And that's okay, because he was able to overcome that. But what we need to do is have a way that we can build trust and authority in a market. And a lot of agencies are simply not doing this. They're not doing it enough. Like they have really exceptional expertise and ways of doing things that they're really hiding their light under a bushel. And the reason why is they just get busy and they don't know quite how to position themselves in this way. So this is a way to be able to generate anywhere between 20 and 80 contacts over the next 30 days. And how to be able to turn those into, you know, about minimum five opportunities to over the course. And really, if you do this, what's going to happen is that it's going to be this campaign will be driving business for a year or years even. And you can do this rinse and repeat, and you can actually even build up your teams to actually be doing this independently. So here's how this works. What you want to do is be able to say, like, we're putting together, we're publishing an article on, the challenges. Let's say this. I'll give an example. The challenges that agriculture services are running into scaling. So, like, let's say that I want to do that, and I go and I target the specific agriculture companies between 5 and 10 million. Maybe I go and I find it's like maybe they're like between 3 and 15 million. Like, I'm choosing that market there. Now, first of all, I'm going to go and say, who do I know that might be able to refer us? Maybe even just someone close, right? So I might say, who in my network on that? And I'm thinking, I have one that I could maybe can make some connections on that, like for an interview. Not for pitching, none of this. It's not selling. The whole point of this is we got to build trust. Right. So we're going to go and we're going to have a 15 to 20 minute interview on this. And the reason why is, like, they want to be part of the publication. They want to share their insights, right? So now you're also going to say, well, there are people we just don't know, right? We don't have enough contacts here. So we're going to hit LinkedIn, or you can do cold email outreach as well, but looking at, but you're not pitching somebody. What you're doing is you're showing up as a media authority, really. Like, you're coming in, you're publishing research that you're going to put together into a white paper, and you can publish it as simple as like on LinkedIn, right? But you need to be publishing something, and what you're doing during these interviews is you're understanding the problem. You will become an authority. Like, so if you're entering a new market, let's say you don't know this market very well, right? Like, I don't know agriculture services, for example. So here's the thing is, by the first 3 interviews, I'm going to know whether I actually like these people and whether I want to continue having interviews with these people. So right away, that could eliminate, dozens of hours of work going after the wrong market, right? After 10 interviews, I'm going to start seeing, I'll see this sooner than 10 interviews myself, but like most people, by the time 10 interviews, they're going to be able to connect the dots and see, okay, these are the blind spots. These are the challenges they're running into. I'm seeing this over and over again. And actually, these are the problems. These are some problems we can solve. And I can see this is probably costing them a couple $1 million a year. So now you actually also know what you can price your services at. If you know if it's costing them a couple $1 million a year, that you could probably charge, $100,000 or $200,000 a year for services on that to solve that problem, Right. So by about 10, you now see this. By after 10, you're going to have the other 10 interviews. And what's going to happen is that you're going to start being able to ask better questions and asking them a little bit more intelligent way. And what's going to start happening is they're going to be asking, hey, what do you do? What do you do? Because they're going to start finding this interesting. So you've already started to becoming more of an authority in this area, right? So then every single one of these interviews, though, you're going to ask for an introduction to someone else who you could interview. Like, who else has this problem that we can have an interview? So you're building your list here, right? And then you're going to go back to all those 20 people, and you're going to share the white paper, right? And during some of these conversations, you might actually even have some ideas about how you could solve the problem. And you might even end it with something that just like, hey, you know what? If like you shared this challenge, if I came across something that could help you solve this problem, would you want to hear about it? And so that could be a soft way. You have to find your soft way that's going to work for your personality to say that. But the whole thing, you are not pitching. You're not trying to sell. You're not there to sell it to sell a service. You were there. And if they ask to understand more, then you schedule another call. You keep it clean. You got to schedule another call. And so by doing this, if you're talking to 20 people of your most ideal client, and if you actually have a solution for them, what are the odds that out of 20 that you're going to get at least a couple sales calls? Pretty high. So now from 20, you probably had to reach out to 50 or more people to initially even get 20 people on your calendar, right? Mm-hmm. So now you can go and reach out to the 30 other people and say, hey, we put together this white paper on this topic. Let me know if you're interested. So now you could get, there's another 20 people that you can get. So now we're at 40. We have 40 people on the contact. Now, we can go back to the people that we interviewed and say, who else should we get this article out to? So that, there's another 10 right there, right? So you see this continues to compound. You put together the white paper. And how you put together the white paper? Like, you can put together a project in Claude and upload all of your transcripts, and it can help you be able to tie the trends. And we have this whole process that we use to that walks them through this vision arc that will pre-sell the services in a way that build the desire. But you don't have to do it the full. Like you can have like Claude's going to put together something pretty awesome, right? If you tell them what the goal is on this. So then you have this white paper. Now you're going to go back. You're going to be able to distribute to the people you've already been connecting with. Then you can go and reach out to your clients and say, who do you know that needs to have that we should have access to this? Let's say and that right there, you probably could get 10 more contacts. If it's a completely new industry and you don't have any contacts in that, what you do is you build referral partners in that. And you look at this and say, who has this market, who has this network, and that we could share this white paper resource that's going to make them look good. Like they can actually go and share it with them. And like I have days where I open up my inbox and there's like 10 people that have like made referrals for like resources. Like we've used our book before. You don't have to have a book. You can use a white paper like this. And then what this does is that you've built, so now you can have this compounding to about, as much as 80 trusted relationships in a matter of 30 to 60 days, just depending on how fast you're able to implement this. Yeah.
I feel like this is like the new version of podcasting, kind of like how you and I would invite people on our podcast to, I don't know.
Yes.
Like get in front of them, network, to build authority. But this is like a step further and like a full out system. Yeah.
Actually, one of our clients too, Jerry, who's one of them I was mentioning, he actually does that on his podcast that's how one of the ways that he connects with people. Not everyone here has a podcast though. And I don't, but everyone has a LinkedIn profile. Everyone can publish something on LinkedIn. Everyone can put together a white paper. And I actually at one point said, well, you could put this together into a book. And they're just like, and they like their eyes just freak out. I can't do that. I can't do that. I'm like, well, okay, well, like, let's just do a white paper, right? Like,
yeah.
Because it's easier than ever to put together these resources. Like we can put together these resources faster because we have these IP frameworks that walk AI to be able to get this done like in an afternoon, and it would have taken like months before. So like we can move. I'm so excited about it. We were talking about this last week. I'm so excited about it because what used to take so long and so many people, now one person can do this if they spend 10 to 20 hours per week over the course of a month. I mean, and I think that's part of it, is like, are you willing to invest the time to actually grow your company? Are you willing to do that? If you actually have a process that you have confidence in.
Well, that's the thing, Mandy. I think most people stall because they don't know what to do. Yeah. They don't know. They might be ambitious, say like, I want to grow my business and I want to take it to the next level, but they're like, there's a million ways I could do it. Apparently, I could run meta ads. I could get on podcasts, or I could do this LinkedIn strategy. But I love that you come forward and you're like, this is just the system. Just go do it and you'll get the results. And I mean, if somebody reached out to me and was like, hey, I'm doing a research project on agency owners, yada, 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 I think you'd be a great fit. Could I interview you? I would definitely say yes. Versus if someone's like, hey, could I grab like a virtual coffee with you?
Right.
Sorry, I know. So I think I love that this is just so straightforward and you're checking so many boxes at the same time. Building authority, getting content, building network, it's just, I love it.
Thanks. And
I want to do this.
You can. I'll help you. But
okay, thanks.
Yeah, definitely. You guys are doing such cool stuff. I'd love to help. But the whole point about this is, notice this, like, this is simple. It's simple. Mm-hmm. You're building relationships with people. You're taking the ultimate shortcut, which is doing the work. Is the ultimate shortcut.
I was going to say, this doesn't sound like a shortcut. This is a lot of work.
It is a lot of work, but what?
Most people won't do it.
Yeah, most people won't do it. And you know what? Why? And most people also, they're going to, the vast majority are going to continue putting their head down, staying stuck in their company, doing the same thing that they've been doing year after year. And what's going to happen is they're going to be irrelevant, and they're probably going to be out of business in 2 years. I know that's a strong statement to say, but I'll tell you what, especially in the agency world, like, you just watch every new release every week, all sorts of cool stuff you can do in a matter of minutes that used to spend, tens of thousands to even hundreds of thousands of dollars for an agency to do. So really, what is the value of the agency? The value is your perspective, your point of view, and your understanding for how to be able to get them from point A to point B. And all of that knowledge is hidden in your case studies. It's like agencies really need to be sitting and looking at what results have we created in the past? What conditions had to be in place to be able to create those results? How could we replicate that? Who could we replicate that for? And instead of waiting for them to just come to us by referrals or, like kind of doing the same thing we've been doing, going after them and just saying, this is exactly the type of companies we want to work with. And this is the result that they can get in order if they work with us. Like I was mentioning, adding $5 million in 24 months and $500,000 of profit. We can't do that for every company. We just simply can't. They have to have a desire for growth. They have to be at a place where they're investing ahead, and they have to have something that kind of rocks already on some level. The clients have to like what they're already doing, and then you can leverage that. So it's like, what is it that you want to be known for? And then instead of lowering your standards to meet whatever lousy standards your prospects give you, like these lousy budgets, this lousy amount of, say, no, this is the result we create. This is how you got to show up. This is you don't hide that. Like you just said, Taylor, this looks like a lot of work. Yes, it's a lot of work. And you know what? Smart people like yourself will put the work in because you know that you do it one time, you're going to prove this model, and then you can then hire people to do this for you. And this is what we're doing with, one of those companies I was mentioning. They're actually branching out to different to different industries, and we're going and creating resources like that for each one of these industries, and we're going to be creating and it will use that for their sales team, like a huge for them. They really need to use this for their sales team to be able to tighten it up, and they have a lot of opportunities that they could be able to nurture more with this type of tool. This is a really good nurture tool. But I shared how you could use it as an attract tool. So you have attract, nurture, close. And I shared with you how to use it for an attract tool. You can then use it as a nurture tool to be able to warm up contacts that you have. And you can use it as a close tool because you have now established yourself. You have trust, you have authority, and you have relevancy. That's what it takes to sell.
It's so true. And you realize it once you do, we grew by converting referrals and word of mouth. And then you go to cold traffic and you're like, totally different ball game out there. So if you have all these warmed up leads and a flow like this, it definitely would make things a lot easier to convert on the other end.
Yeah, exactly. Because it's not cold anymore, right?
No.
Yeah.
And who wants to talk to cold leads? It's not very enjoyable.
It's really not. And I've done it. I've been successful at it. Oh gosh. And what's going on in the market right now is that all of the colder things have stopped working. There's so many things in the market for selling. Like cold email doesn't work like it used to. LinkedIn, it doesn't work like it used to either. I mean, we used to have this really nice dialed in funnel from LinkedIn. They'd come into the executive briefing. I've made millions of dollars off of LinkedIn. But the thing is it continues to change, and you have to modify with it. And here's what's working on LinkedIn and all these other channels is being a human and building a real relationship, having a reason for the person to want to build a relationship with you in the first place. And that's what's working right now when nothing else is.
Mm-hmm. So where can people learn more about this, Mandi, if they want to get their hands on it?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you go to handsoffceo.com/trust, what I'll do is I'll actually have a flow chart for how to be able to do this, and like a one sheet that shares the process for how to do this, and how to be able to build a referral engine, and it will make it be a lot easier for anyone to who's listening to be able to implement that. So you go to handsoffceo.com/trust, then you can download that.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Mandi, for coming on the podcast. And where can people connect with you further?
Yep.
Website, LinkedIn.
Yep. So, Hands Off CEO is our website. But I'm pretty active on LinkedIn. So, you can reach out to me, Mandi Ellefson, Mandi, and then Ellefson. You might have to try a couple times for that last name. But
wonderful. Well, Thank you so much for coming on the show. I really appreciate it.
It was such a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me, Taylor.
Cheers to happy clients.